Recently, Donald Trump did a 1-hour sit-down with Bret Baier over on Faux Pas News, formerly known as Fox News. And as Bret Baier was pushing the president a little bit about why he didn't give back documents that were requested, and he said, you know, Mr. President, the American people want to know, and no other news network draws as many independent voters as Fox News. And Trump immediately jumped in and said, yeah, well, you're drawing a lot less than you used to. Bam! You can always count on Trump for the quick comeback and the haymaker. But I'm not here to talk about Trump or Bret Baier, but a little bit about Fox News, and in particular, the fact that they basically committed suicide when they cut Tucker Carlson loose. And look who they've got minding the store now. The likes of Sean Hannity, who literally got eaten alive by Governor Gavin Newsom of California.
On its way to be the fourth largest economy in the world. What are you arguing for? Mississippi's economic policy? Is that, I mean, literally, that's what you're arguing for.
Me, if I wanted
the great Sam Brownback's Kansas policy, I mean, it was a debacle. No economic growth. 71% of the GDP in America are blue counties.
I would
71% of the GDP in America are blue counties. Progressive policies.
Okay, that are paying high taxes. And
71% of the country's wealth. 7 of the top 10 dependent states.
Let's say you're right.
States.
Let's say you.
No, we're subsidizing your states, Sean, because of your policies.
See, 5-line Hannity, if he doesn't get to say his 5 prepared things over and over and over, he gets thrown for a loop. He can't think on his feet. He doesn't have the gift of extemporaneous rolling with the flow. He is a train wreck and a disaster, and he just got owned by one of the most incompetent governors in the country. Yeah, I'm all rant about that.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. Somebody to the top of the line.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. This is the Afternoon Drive. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. From time to time, YouTube likes to help you out and basically let you know, hey, we know what's best, what you ought to be watching and not watching. And I know you subscribe to this guy over here, but we've unsubscribed you. Check and make sure you're still subscribed. If you're not a subscriber, please do so. Help us build our algorithm and make sure that you smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of my rants. Well, that's the theory, they'll notify you. But please, when you watch these, like them, share them. The more likes I get, it helps us to build that algorithm, but I need you to take literally the web address from here and post this on your social media. Help us spread the word that we're here. Thank you. Now I'm going to play this clip again of Sean Hannity in Epley trying to push back on the governor and basically, you know, what a wimp he is. And he's such an example of the basic GOP. Now, Hannity wants to sometimes talk tough about the wimpy and feckless Republicans on Capitol Hill, that they don't fight enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, was that a Paul Ryan imitation you were doing there, Sean, my boy? I mean, literally. You didn't push back on the Ken doll with the plastic hair from California at all. So I'm going to have to do your job for you. Let's play the clip again, and let me tell you what Hannity should have said.
On its way to be the fourth largest economy in the world. What are you arguing for? Mississippi's economic policy? Is that, I mean, literally, that's what you're arguing for.
Me, if I wanted
the great Sam Brownback's Kansas policy, I mean, it was a debacle. No economic growth. 71% of the GDP in America are blue counties.
I would
71% of the GDP in America are blue counties. Progressive policies.
Okay, that are paying high taxes. And
71% of the country's wealth. 7 of the top 10 dependent states.
Let's say you're right. Let's say you.
No, we're subsidizing your states, Sean, because of your policies.
Wow, real pushback there, Sean. I jotted down just a few things while Newsom was talking, and so let's do this. Now, Gavin Newsom wants to make the case that he's got the 4th largest economy in the world, the state of California. And he wanted to go on and try to make the case that 71% of the blue counties in this nation, in states like his, are what's leading the economic resurgence of the United States. And Hannity did nothing to push back on it. You know, he let Gavin Newsom get a shot in on, Biloxi, Mississippi. And Hannity said nothing other than, I live in New York. How about hit him with, what about the fact that your state's bankrupt? Literally. They're billions and billions in the hole. And they're looking for another federal government handout. He'll get it under Biden that he wouldn't have gotten under Trump. But the state is bankrupt. Why? Because of all the money that they're throwing at the illegals. All the money that they're wasting on the homeless crisis that they haven't even remotely put a dent in. They've got the highest taxes. It is the highest cost of living. You know, a 4-room house in a decent neighborhood is going to run you $1 million in the state of California. I mean, for basically a shoebox with a lawn, you're going to pay $1 million. It is a wretched place to live. The reason that the economy is doing as well as it is, he didn't tell you it's because of the moving van business. I mean, people getting out of California, escaping California. Hannity didn't push back on the tyrannical lockdown mandates that Gavin Newsom inflicted on his people, all in the name of a pandemic, while he himself violated and flaunted those rules. He's out eating and dining like it's 2019, while everybody else was under orders to stay home. Pastors were being arrested and fined for going to their own church buildings and church properties. John MacArthur literally had state police officers staked out in his parking lot, and every time he drove to his church and went into the building, even if he was the only one there, he got fined for being there. Every time he allowed his people to gather in a mostly peaceful protest, because being a Protestant, they're the original protesters, gathering on Sunday morning worship, he was being fined tens of thousands of dollars. That's California. Hannity said none of that. But let's deal with, shall we say, the fact-checking that needed to be done of Gavin Newsom. Now, he likes to say that he's got the 4th largest economy and a state like his is leading the nation in growth. Well, fact check, you had 2.4% growth. 2.4. The national average is 2.6. That means Mississippi is ahead of you there, plastic hair Ken doll. But of course, Hannity didn't push back on that. He let Gavin Newsom basically state, unchecked, unredacted, that it's the blue states that are leading the charge. Well, in reality, when you do a little fact checking, you find out that all of the growth in this country is coming from the red states. Shazam, Batman. Like, we're really surprised by that? Now, when I say red states, that doesn't necessarily mean that there is a conservative or Republican governor and a conservative legislative body. There are, quote unquote, blue states who voted for Trump. And so that's what we base this on. Texas had the most growth in the nation, 7%. Florida, 3.7%. North Carolina, Arkansas, Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, West Virginia, 3% growth. The lowest jobless rates in the country, in other words, the lowest unemployment, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Montana, Utah, all with less than 2.4% unemployment. Sean, you're supposed to be the media guy, the media professional. I'm a pastor. I do this as a hobby when I come on here and do my rants. I was able to come up with this. Why are you, the broadcast professional, with an entire staff at your disposal? Why were you not ready for this? You knew one of the things you were going to hit him on was, quote, the economic stagnation and bankruptcy of California. What? You thought he was just going to say, oh, gee, Sean, I didn't think you'd bring that up. No, he was going to hit you back. And by the way, this is part of a speech he's been giving all over the country, touting that he's got the fourth largest economy, touting their so-called economic growth, and that they're leading the nation. What, you and nobody on your staff thought he might not bring that up in your interview with him, and that you ought to have some facts at your disposal to refute him? If I were going to interview him here in my office and put it out on my podcast here on the Afternoon Drive, I would certainly take a little time to figure out, all right, what are the things I think he's going to try to hit me with, and what can I do to be ready? But of course, Sean didn't do that, and he just shows the ineptness of the fake conservative media. And they are fake conservatives. They give just enough conservatism to sound plausible as the conservative voice, but in reality, they are establishment mainstream media, period. And by the way, they're totally woke every day. These so-called conservatives at Faux Pas News, formerly known as Fox News, have got to treat us to the gay of the day. You know, somebody making a positive impact in America who's part of the rainbow community. That would include even Kylie McEnany. You know, everybody was so upset a couple weeks ago because Trump called her toast. Well, she is. She likes to write children's Christian books. And yet, every day she's out there with her smile talking about how the Pride people are making America better. That's Faux Pas News. It has always been opposition, controlled opposition. Always. Even under the late, great Roger Ailes, the Groper. I told you years ago when Bill O'Reilly was on there. Bill O'Reilly was not a committed conservative. This was a gig. This was a paycheck for him. And Hannity is five-line Hannity. This guy was a house painter. He got a job on a local radio station, and because Roger Ailes thought he had a good look, we could put this kid on TV. We'll put him up against a dillweed libloon like Alan Combs, right down to where they had the studio half air conditioned. Hannity got to sit on the air conditioned side, under all the hot lights and the cameras, and he looked good. And they made sure that Combs sat on the non-air conditioned side of the studio, so he was always sweating and always looking kind of, creepy. Sean Hannity is, all right, I'm going to use a music analogy here. In the 1950s, when the whole rock and roll genre was new, you had the rock and rollers, Elvis, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, they could play instruments, they could sing. Some of them wrote music. Chuck Berry was, one of the great songwriters of the 1950s. But in the late 50s, because of all the brushback, because of the charges of race and etc., they homogenized rock and roll to make it acceptable. And the mainstream record labels wanted to start recording it, but they wanted to, quote, clean up its bad boy image. So we were treated to an endless line of what was deemed teen idols. One of them was a kid out of Philadelphia named Fabian. And Fabian was a total and complete creation. He was just a teenage kid in the neighborhood that a record producer looked at one day and said, I could sell that. He had the right hairdo, he had the right smile, he had the right look. He knew girls would scream and go nuts. And it didn't matter if he didn't have any talent. They could manufacture that. And there was a big PR campaign. Fabian is coming. Fabian is coming. And then finally, he makes his debut, and the girls are screaming, and he couldn't sing. Flat Fabian would have been a better name for him. Couldn't sing. His voice had to be artificially engineered in the studio. That's Sean Hannity. He's just a conservative idol. He's not the real deal. Now let's talk for a minute about Why is Gavin Newsom doing this? Because Hannity tried to press him on, you're not really for Joe Biden, are you?
I don't think Joe Biden is mentally, physically capable of being the president of the United States. Hang on. I suspect if I took your phone and I took a look at it, not that I believe in privacy, I would never do that. I would bet on a daily basis that there are people urging you to run for president and primary him. Am I wrong in my assumption?
Well, my phone's been lighting up how well he did with the UK Prime Minister. My phone lit up and how he
That's a nice duck.
McCarthy on the debt ceiling.
Your phone light up?
My phone lights up with Republican friends saying, you know what? Despite all of the rhetoric, these bipartisan bills he keeps passing on infrastructure and the CHIPS and Science Act, the bipartisan work he did on gun legislation reform and around the debt ceiling, make me feel maybe he's done a little bit better job than some.
But that wasn't my question. Does your phone light up with, Gavin, you need to get in this primary? He's not able to run. He's not up to the job.
Look, everybody has their quiet chatter, and everybody's out there rooting for America. I'm rooting for our president. I have great confidence in his leadership.
Yeah, right. He's getting all kinds of texts telling him, isn't Joe Biden just doing an amazing job? And there's Republicans texting him that, oh, you know, as I look around, I really do realize what a great job Joe Biden's doing. That is such BS bullhawk. But Gavin Newsom really revealed himself there for the slimy little Mike Pence traitor that he is. See, come out and talk all nice about Joe. Act like you're the dutiful soldier that you're on board, when in reality, behind closed doors, he is praying, he is plotting, he is wanting the demise of Joe Biden. Because narcissist Newsom wants to be president. But he's pretending to play the game to wait in line and wait his turn and be a good boy. And he'll say all the right things, and he's for affirmative action, and he tried to bring reparations to California, but in reality, in wanting to be president, what he's telling the black VP, hit the road, I'm going to be the next guy. That's Gavin Newsom. He is a sneaky, oily, just con artist. But he's got a good look, and he looks like he just stepped out of a Hollywood studio. And you've got some people in this country, to be quite honest with you, they're just flat stupid. And, you know, I can do a lot of things, but I can't fix stupid. And there will be people who would support and vote for Gavin Newsom. And if Sean Hannity and the likes of him are going to be the so-called conservative pushback on him, yeah, that snake oil salesman will have more than half the country convinced that he's done a great job in California. Way to go, Sean. So glad you're on our team. You really are a fighter. And then you guys wonder why the real conservatives and the real Americans in this country love Donald Trump.